Now he's
Oh,
in the channel.
oh, there he is. He's late to the party. I was gonna complain about you not actually learning time, but now I'm gonna complain about Craig not actually learning time.
Well, I wasn't late to this because, well, okay. I told you I'd be on in 10 minutes, and you said, okay, I'll be on in 12.
Yep,
And
I was on in about 8, and you were on in about 15 or more.
I looked at the time and I was like, oh, it's 10 to the top of the hour. It turned out, no, it was more like 25 to the top of the hour.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not like I'm going anywhere. It's not like I have any other plans besides maybe play a little Overwatch later. So, doing this a few minutes late, that's okay.
Yeah.
We're all just getting older and yeah, growing grumpier and stuff. Speaking of getting older, I found out something I did not know about 5th edition. Did you know that they don't have stats for aging in 5e? Not that I can find anywhere.
Really, because that actually came up this weekend.
Did it?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there is stats for aging because I told the players it's not going to apply. Um
Like I don't even know why it came up in conversation at the table last night at our D&D
it's in the
game.
player's handbook.
Is it? Like I googled
Um
it and everybody's like, "Oh, there's no official stats." Of course, I didn't actually look in a book because that would be the smart thing to do.
um the age entry notes the age when a member of a race is considered an adult, as well as the race's expected lifespan. The information can help you decide on how old your character is at the start of the game. You can choose any age for your character, which could provide an explanation for some of your ability scores. For example, if you play a young or very old character that could have particularly low strength or con, while advanced age could account for high wisdom and intelligence.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, okay, yeah, so yeah, it doesn't yeah, it's not like
that's not a legit chart for what happens when you hit certain ages. I know the earlier editions. I'm pretty sure third edition had charts for aging. I'm almost positive it did. Second edition absolutely did, although second edition was sort of designed with the expectancy of campaigns literally going over the course of 20 years or more. So, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird that fifth edition did not have that in place. While I don't think most campaigns take place anymore over that time span. There's still I've heard there's abilities and things that age people. So I can't think of any monsters that do that. I can't think of any spells that do that. But if that was a thing, if you get hit by an attack that ages you 10 years, you might want to have official stats in front of you as to what happens to your character.
well, I know in 4th edition there were age categories. Um because there were some things that would actually age you or de-age you, like monster attacks. I think fifth edition took lot of that away. But
They've
when it
taken a
comes
lot
to
of things away.
yeah, when when it comes to aging charts in a role playing game, I mostly just use them as reference for like when creating a character would be like an NPC. It really kind of sucks to as a player to get hit by an aging attack and then all of a sudden, you're forever this much older. Um, and you've lost 2 strength and you're barbarians and now your character's stats are affected.
See,
They got rid of a lot of that stuff in 5th edition because it's extra math that really they don't think people need. And if they're gonna be have things like that, um, then the DM can just make them up as they see fit. Really, they kind of put that more on the DM and with creating the world building than anything else.
I'm about to go old man in this. I went uphill both ways in the snow to go to school back in my day. So that while I really and truly can't disagree with it, it's just funny. I'm thinking of all the older editions while this discussion's going on, and people who would complain about aging or losing stats to different attacks, etc. In second edition, they had fucking level drain.
Yeah,
Yeah, you had to do serious math when you got hit with that shit. I think third edition might have had it as well. I can't recall, but I know earlier ones did.
I'm a real big proponent for a 5e like hardcore edition
I would fucking
where
love that.
it's more adults for adult themes and adult kind of like, capacity for thinking. Not for kids, just
Yeah,
because the concepts are too high value. But like the idea of taking short rests and long rests and making short rest 8 hours of sleep, long rest being a week's worth of downtime, bringing a lot of reality into the situation
yeah,
and getting more crunchy with the rules.
yeah.
I really think
Add
that,
in hit locations possibly with you know, critical damage might be. And I know you've had charts for this before, where critical damage actually leaves permanent wounds type things.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, like I would love to see somebody put that together as well. There's other things that fifth edition has just sort of excluded to streamline everything, and yeah, I would just like to see expanded stuff on that. Weapons. Weapons is one of the worst things about 5e. Every single dexterity fighter, all of them, they're dexterity based anything, is going to use a fucking rapier. Why?
yeah,
Because it's by far the best dexterity weapon in the damn game.
it's the only
We,
one.
yeah, well, you could use a short sword, but it deals a d6. So
Mhm.
why do that? You can do a d8 with a rapier. You need There needs to be greater variance in weapon choices.
I think with fifth edition in particular, they wanted more of a entry level role playing game that anyone can pick up and just play. And they wanted to eliminate a lot of the extra unneeded fluff that takes away from the story driven elements of the game.
Yep.
And there's a lot to be said as to that mentality and going down that route, because it's more successful than it's ever been.
Yes, because
So
it,
it's
it it as it gets easier to play, more people will join in.
right. And at the same time too, they've been able to do a lot more with their stories. Um, there's always been a lot of content, but now there's just a lot more involved when it comes to outside influences, videos, and other stories and other things that just kind of bring this larger universe to bear. And they're kind of going with a high fantasy, um, everybody's a hero kind of feel to it, and that works very well with fifth edition. If they want something that's a lot darker and a lot more grittier, then there are better editions, but there's also ways of doing that in fifth edition. Just you kind of have to make it up, like the aging rule.
Yeah, I mean, it is a it's a role playing game, so anyone who's willing to invest the time can come up with all of this stuff.
Yeah,
Um, I like fifth edition because I don't have to invest a lot of time in the rules. I don't have to invest a lot of time into anything except world building and story crafting. At the same time, I still sort of miss having all of that stuff that I don't have access to in 5th edition. But I'm just, I'm busy, you're busy, everybody's busy. So I don't have time to sit down and create aging mechanics. I don't have time to sit down and add 50 basic weapons into the game that would exist in reality.
well, that being said, a lot of people have already done that on DM's Guild too. You can probably go out there and
Yeah.
find a bunch of
Yeah.
charts and rules.
Yeah. And
um,
I'm sure I can find 20 minutes to go do that. I'm not that
yeah.
busy.
But it is surprising that a lot of basic stuff doesn't seem to be just listed in fifth edition, where like I knew it's even in fourth edition, and all it would be is just like a quarter of a page to list a table. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, the aging thing is just sort of it's a grievous, oversight. It literally, I personally, I could come up with a aging chart if I really wanted to within half an hour. I could, there's no reason somebody couldn't have just done that, thrown it in one of the many 5e books that already exist.
Yeah.
Weapons are a lot more complicated to do that because you do want them to sort of be balanced, but
Yeah, and at the end of the day too, like I know in fourth edition there was the short sword, long sword, bastard sword
mm,
combo. Like, do you really need the bastard sword at the end of the day? I mean,
yeah, it was
does it add enough to the game to make it a mechanic that needs to be worthwhile, or just say long sword and short sword?
I was always a huge fan of the bastard sword. I oftentimes used it.
Yeah, but it's that middle ground between the two. So just why have the middle ground and just have choice A or choice B?
Because it was it filled the role for both of them. It basically allowed you to, if I recall correctly, it was the hand and a half sword, the bastard sword. It could do, yeah, it could be wielded two handed or one handed. Was what it was. That was the nice thing about it. So it could deal a D10 of damage or a D8 of damage.
Yeah, it was a superior weapon in the handed weapon category. It was versatile. And in fourth edition, it just meant it dealt one extra damage.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
I'm just thinking of it from earlier. I got third edition probably or second edition, but yeah,
yeah,
it was just the I can do two handed with it or one handed with it, just depending
actually,
on
it's
what
this
I
actually
feel
more
like.
between the long sword and the great sword.
Yeah, yeah, it was. That's what it was. It was the step between those two.
But at the end of the day, the long sword just fills that role too. It's a different die in fifth.
Yeah, and fifth, I guess that's the case because does it do a D10 if you wield it two handed in fifth? I don't recall.
No.
I have to look this up now, and actually do have my book in front of me for once. Although I'm sure you've already Googled it and found the answer by now.
Yeah,
Longsword.
it does a
Yeah.
D10 if you
Yeah.
wield
Okay.
it two
So
hands.
effectively, they made the longsword the bastard sword in fifth edition,
Yeah.
which is that's fine. I don't mind that. If I want it to be called something else, I'll just call it something else. But at least they still have it. Effectively, what they did was they got rid of the longsword.
Well, the best sword was heavy, I think.
The what sword?
I think one of them was a heavy blade.
Oh, I'm not. That might be a fourth edition thing. I don't recall that from
Yeah.
earlier ones.
Bastard was heavy. Oh no, longsword was heavy too. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
The longsword was military. Bastard was superior.
was that
That's what it
a
was.
I am not familiar with those. I'm
Yeah.
guessing that was
It,
a distinguishing feature from
you know how you have normal weapon or simple weapons and
and
martial
martial.
weapons?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, they had a third class of just you're better than
Okay.
the like the Kopesh was in the superior weapon group,
Yeah.
and that was just
The
a light blade that did the 1d8 right from the
y-
get go.
right.
So all the rogues chose that. So that
Just like
extra,
everybody takes a rapier now. Same thing.
yeah, so that extra level of just number crunching stuff can feel nice sometimes, but doesn't add any substance to the game.
It adds a lot
Now,
of
if
it adds flavor to the game. If every single person you see is wielding a rapier just because it's the best weapon,
well,
that's bad. That's not
I
creative. It's just boring.
the difference I think would be is I know fifth edition, especially in the Dungeon Master's Guide, talks a lot about not all long swords are long swords. The mechanic for a long sword is this. But if you want an Asian inspired theme, it's not a long sword now, it's a katana.
Oh
If you
yeah, I
want
mean, I'm playing the Oriental campaign. I'm using a short sword. It's called a wakizashi. It's literally a
yeah.
short sword. It's the same damn thing.
So there's more of a push with fifth edition to be more uh descriptive and just more can't remember think of the right word,
Yeah,
just more creative with the weapons that you're choosing, not from a number standpoint, but from a description standpoint.
most players and most DMs are not going to go that far.
I do.
If I see longsword in the player's handbook, I don't care if they're wielding a Chinese broadsword, unless I'm playing literally an Oriental campaign. If I'm playing a standard campaign and they're wielding that, it's a longsword as far as I'm concerned because I'm not going to think
I
about it
would
or take the time to mention it.
I would go so far as to say like, hey, you're wielding a flail, you know. Uh I'm wielding a spike flail. Okay, so instead of doing bludgeoning with just a ball on a chain, now you're doing piercing with ball on a chain.
Right, which
If you
should be a variant weapon in the book.
right, but they're not. I just don't think they're going to print stuff like that because they run out of space too quickly.
Second edition had all of them, man. There was like 20 different fucking halberds you could choose from that would do different types of damage.
Yeah, they just didn't have that in fifth edition. They
W-
focus on other things.
Yeah, that's fine. I know it's just us old men complaining about it. It I do love 5e. It's been really good. I enjoy running it. Yeah, it's just one of these nitpicky things where I'm like, man, they really could just have expanded that.
So it was funny that you brought up aging right from the get go because I hadn't talked to you about my game yet.
No, yep, yep.
Um, because all y'all have decided not to log in to our video games after midnight on Saturday and play them, as you guys are just all like doing real adult stuff instead of
Yeah,
talking
I
about playing
know.
video
I'm
games.
getting home now at midnight, 1 o'clock for my own D&D games. That I'm pretty exhausted. Last night I had to watch UFC fights. But yeah, yeah, we're
Lazy,
adults. We're all busy.
lazy, lazy, lazy. Anyways, I I've been running a lot of like experimental encounters with my owl campaign, kind of getting a feel for what I want the encounters in the forest to be. So, anyways, I've been doing a lot more experimental stuff with the owl campaign and just running different kinds of encounters, trying to figure out ways to getting them on the ground a lot. There was a quest that I gave them to kind of collect birch trees through a kind of arcane ritual. Um, and that would like peel some of the bark off the tree so they could repair some of the books, and that gets them on the ground. And then you can have a random encounter happen. And I kind of also told them that they could either fly over the forest or stay on the ground, but they can't fly up through the crowns of the trees because it'd just be too thick. And that's kept them grounded for a little bit. It's kind of hard to say, hey, you need to go 2 days north and keep an eye out for this particular area. And if you're airborne, it's pretty easy to see it, you would think. But I just wanted them to stay closer to the ground so we could actually have encounters and stories and whatnot.
Right.
Um, so I've been expecting different things, and like I said, right now they're kind of under this like weird, thicker part of the forest that's more untouched by the fey creatures or the civilized fey creatures, civilized in quotes. And so there's just a lot more bramble and bush and more nature trails than anything else. And they're just going north. They're continuing to go north. And I had them come across a number of different things we talked about last week in the night encounter. That went well. They were able to explore the cave. They avoided some encounters and stuff like that. But overall, everything went well. I had uh, I had them roll for treasure when they went into the cave, and the player that rolled that he is the one who did the searching rolled a 98 on the treasure table.
Well then,
So yeah, so amazingly good loot. And then he got the roll again on the magic item table G, which is pretty high level stuff.
that's fairly decent.
Yeah, but luckily he got the horn of blasting and not like a +2 longsword or anything like that. So I was kind of happy with that. Like
Man,
here's a
I would have rather him have the +2 sword than the horn of blasting.
well, I had him roll, so that's what he rolled up with. I wanted to keep a little bit. I like a little bit of randomness to the games.
No, that's fine. Just horn of blasting is one of those things. Most of the time, you think it's innocuous, and next thing you know, they just sort of blow a building in on your bad guys and end an encounter.
Well, I don't know if you've read the horn of blasting stat line. What?
I have. I don't remember specifics of it.
So let me pull it up here real quick because I didn't really read through it either. I just saw the damage number, so I was like, "Yeah, that's okay."
Yeah, but doesn't it do? I think it deals like double the structures.
No.
Okay, maybe that it might have changed. Might have been
So
earlier editions.
you speak the action word, whatever that is. You blow in the horn. 30-foot cone that's audible up to 600 feet away. Each creature in the cone must make a DC 15 con saving throw. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
On a failed save, the creature takes 5d6 thunder damage and is deafened for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much and isn't deafened. So it's nowhere near as powerful as Fireball.
Yeah, that's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
Right. Creatures and objects made of glass or crystal have disadvantage on the saving throw and take 10d6 thunder damage instead of 5d6. So
There it is.
if you're made of glass or crystal, only those two things, you're just effed.
Yep.
um, but then again, it's not going to blow a building down because
Yeah.
it's not
I
going to
could
do anything to the wall.
I could swear there was an edition of it where it did like a lot of extra structure damage, but I've got terrible
Yeah.
memory. So
Well, here's the last sentence of the description, and when the player read this, he was like, "Nope, I ain't holding this thing," and gave it to somebody else.
yeah.
Each use of the horn's magic has a 20% chance of causing the horn to explode.
Oh, all right.
This explosion deals 10d6 fire damage to the blower and destroys the horn.
Depending on the character I'm playing would determine whether I would use that or not. My current character, not a chance in hell.
Now, what's neat about this item is that it doesn't have charges.
Yeah, it's just you can use it infinitely
You
until
can
it blows
use it
up on you.
until it blows up.
Which, knowing me,
So,
is the literal first usage of it. I remember, yeah, I probably told the story on here where we had just gotten the staff of healing, and the very first time I used it, I burned every single charge in it. So then you have to roll a d20. Nat one
yeah,
just blew up the fucking staff of healing right out of the gate.
I mean, you used every charge in it.
Yeah, but there's only a 1 in 20 chance it blows up.
Yeah, but
You know,
still,
it's only what is that, 5%?
yes, 5%.
Yeah. So somehow I managed to hit that perfectly. So ever since then, I'm always like, yeah, I just expect everything to explode after I use all the charges in it. And let me tell you,
Well, no,
I use all the charges all the time.
stop doing that.
Nope, nope. That's the only way to live. If I get a wand of magic missile, I am throwing everything, every single attack.
So, they've been continuing through the forest, and we had a couple extra encounters. I brought some of the beetles back. I made a new map as well. I
I saw, yeah, look good.
broke down and got Incarnate and made it through that map together in like less than an hour. The program's relatively easy to figure
Oh
out.
yeah, I love incarnate.
Um, I don't like the controls, mostly because I can't rekey things,
Yeah,
and it does the same stupid thing where it expects everyone to be able to fucking press control, the left control key with their pinky, and still press other buttons, and I can't do that with the size of my hands and a keyboard. So
right.
I wish I could remap control to something else, but I can't. So that's a big pain in the ass, and I don't like that it doesn't snap to a grid for items, and I don't like that moving it is not. You have to hold the space bar to move the map around, which is counterintuitive to every other uh, paint
I've
program,
never done
design
that.
program.
I have
Well, like
never held that. I have never held space to move it around.
so how when you zoom in to put a to place an object or something, how do you scroll up to the top of like go north, south, east, or west on the map?
Honestly, I don't remember. I'm gonna pull up incarnate right now and see how I do it.
Because you can scroll all the way out and scroll all the way back in, but that's just stupid. So you need to be able to grab and move the map on your screen so you can kind of look around and like look at
The
the areas.
simple truth of it is, I probably do the scroll out thing you're just now talking about.
Well, you have to
Uh,
hold down spacebar. Like in Snagit, you hold right or you hold the middle mouse button. Uh, Adobe Photoshop, I think, is just right click and move. GIMP is right click and move. A bunch of others are right click and move. It, but so it's really weird that it's just hold down spacebar. I don't even know what I was using right click for.
yeah, I've
But
never.
anyways,
Now that I've got incarnate loaded up, no, I have never held down spacebar. I just zoom in and out. It's the
that's
same thing. It's the exact same thing I did when I was a professional mapper using
you know,
ArcGIS. I just zoom in and out. It might be
not
inefficient, but it's what I got comfortable doing. So
yeah. Well, that's bad. Anyway, um, so I decided to run the fairy circle encounter with the map that Reverend Panda made for us,
yeah,
and I had written up the notes for the encounter, and I let people kind of figure out what they wanted to do. So there's two things that could have happened here. They could have gotten the blessing from the fairy, um, And there's also gems that Panda had drawn in that I brought into the story of them just basically being something that Talibou wanted back in the village.
Alibou,
So yeah, Talibou.
Talibou. What is
Talibou.
Talibou? Is that another
She
owl?
she is the like sage of the owls.
Okay,
She's
got
a
it.
she's a little snow owl that has like a little like Japanese demon mask on.
Yeah, you've told me about this. I probably
Yeah.
talked about it on here, but
So Talibou's like, yeah, go get the gems. Kill all the fairies if you have to. Just give me some gems.
fucking
And
owlkin. Who knew they were so vicious?
well, Talibou is.
I mean, to be fair,
Uh,
they are. They're aerial predators.
yeah, exactly. So Shelly was the one that got the quest, her Al Jinx, and she walked up to the Fey Circle and was like, "Hey, can I get one of these gems?" And it's like, "I'll give you this." And it was like a treasure they had found earlier in the night, which was like one set of chess pieces, not like a full set like with black and white, but this is just one set of just emerald chess pieces,
Right?
and it was worth like 250 gold. And she's like, "I'll trade you this whole thing for one of those gems." And the pixie's like, "All right," because I had written that any payment for the blessing would be 150 gold or something of very personal belonging. And
That,
she just offering
yeah.
250 right from the jump. The fairy doesn't have to do any kind of manipulation to get what she wants. She's already got it. And it's not even for a blessing from the pawn, it's for a stupid crystal that's by the side. So yeah, okay.
Sure, I'll take your money.
I'll take your money for that dumb rock. Bye. Um so she did that, and they're pretty much out of treasures and stuff. So other people show up and like, "Hey, can I get a blessing from the fairies?" And I'm like, "Sure. What do you want to give me?" He's like, "I'll give you this." And I think one player was like, "I'll give you the knowledge that I'm out there protecting the forest." And she's like, "No, how would you give me your green feather that they got the very first session? That marks him as part of this hatchling group." And the guy's like, "No, absolutely not." And he storms off. A couple others just make requests, and there's a counter request that is obviously reworded in the fairy's favor.
Right.
And they're all like, "No, we're good. Bye." And the druid comes up, and she's like, "I'll give you my shillelagh for the blessing." Um, and I was like, "Okay." Um, and I kind of reworded it. And she's like, "Actually, no, I don't want to give up shillelagh." So like, "I'll give you my ability to speak with animals
Ooh.
for the blessing." Um, and I reworded it to something along the lines of like, you'll trade me your ability to speak with all creatures that are not yourself
Oh no.
for the blessing.
Oh
She was
no.
like, "Yup." And even though one of the other players said that's a very suspicious rewording of what they just said. So another player
Yeah.
gave the warning out, and she was like, "Don't care, give it." So she lost speak with animals, speak with plants, even though she doesn't have it yet. All other languages other than common.
The rewording that I just heard you say was I would have had them just lose the ability to speak.
I thought about that.
I honestly I would have just gone the
Well,
the Little Mermaid route. Like you can't talk. I might let you hum and sing, but you can't talk.
the reason I didn't do that is because we're on a stream.
Oh, that's fair. I still don't like it, but at least that's a reasonable excuse.
No, it was the same. I got the same things. Like, I can just take away your ability to speak permanently. But I was like, you know what? You lose all other languages other than common. You can still speak because I'm not going to have a player on a stream lose the ability to speak because that would just be weird.
Yeah,
Um,
they would be pantomiming the entire time. It would be
yeah,
kind of funny, but much harder to follow, I think.
and they lost the ability to speak with plants and animals, and any other speak with spell. Um, so She was like, at the end of the day, I've talked to a couple animals and they hated me, so she's just done with animals.
I just want to point out to any DM who might be running and not running on a stream, if they took that, take their ability to speak, because it could be incredibly fun role playing. Obviously, you don't want to make it permanent, but for a temporary time, a couple of adventures or so forth, having a character who cannot speak, if you have somebody who's really entertaining at role playing and willing to go through the pantomiming of it and everything, it could be so much fun.
So they made this blessing choice without anyone going over to the shrine on the other side of the pond and looking at like what was given up as examples for the blessing,
Right.
or even trying to figure out what the shrine would have entailed. They all stood on the other side of the pond, a good 15 feet away from it, so they couldn't make a good educated guess as to what it was. One of the players rolled a really good um, history check on it, like a 16 or 17. So I gave him all the information that I had set up for 12 and 15, but not for 19. Um, if they would have investigated the statue, um, they would have found out this was basically a youth restoring blessing. So without the knowledge of that, the out person gave up other languages, speak with animals, speak with plants,
Probably didn't
and
even need the effect.
drank it and lost 8 years of their life. Well, not lost; they
Yeah, they're 8 years
reverted back
younger.
8 years younger.
How old were they?
18, because we really didn't know how old owls would be, so everyone's like 18 or 20.
Oh boy.
So another 10.
Well,
So I think my rules lawyer player started looking for what the age rules were in fifth edition.
yep.
But I said he couldn't find it, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to take any of the combat potency away from the player just because they're 8 years younger. Um, so essentially, they just gave that up to be 10 years, 8 years younger. So now they're a toddler, tween, I guess. Um,
Man, that would be the worst. No, I would not want to be that age again.
so what I wrote down was if a payment was placed, 150 gold value or a very personal belonging, spells that is very personal. The water is drank from a tiny mushroom cap. That was loud. Current age is reduced by 2x 1d4 years.
All right.
Um, if water is drank in any other way, age is reduced by 3d12 in the pixie's attack.
That could be funny.
Uh,
Yeah, honestly, if they had done that, one of them would have just died. Just
Poof.
not.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not. You don't exist. You're out of here.
If PCs go into the water, they are aged 1d10 for every second, quote unquote, inside the water.
Probably would have gone with for every round they're in it. But yeah,
Yeah. That's why I put it in second because I wasn't sure how to handle second.
yeah.
But
Probably just do it as per round. But I mean, if they
yeah,
step into it, that's a round, like it or not. So
yeah. I was hoping someone would go into it or try to defile it so the pixies would attack, but none of them did. Um,
yeah, that could have been fun. I can't say I've ever had a battle with pixies. I don't think I've ever run that. And I don't think I've ever been a part of that.
it's
Although we've
when the
had
pixies
we've
go
had the
on.
discussion about pixies on here before. I don't remember what the out like pixie is that a whole group of things or is that just the type that like you know fairies and pixies are separate things? I can't recall what conclusion we came to.
And in this case, they're just a tiny fae with wings and hairs. That have that random table of they have one of these cute things always with them.
Okay.
Um, and I think it's tied into uh, Druidcraft. Yeah, so they
Oh,
have
okay. Yeah.
Druidcraft, so that's what they have. But they're all tiny. They all can fly. They fly 30 feet. They're very dexterous. They have +5. They have 20 dex,
Jeez.
but they have 8 con. They're only CR 1/4.
Yeah. They're tiny. They probably don't have shit for hit points.
Yeah, they have 1 hit point.
Yeah.
All right, but at the time, but the thing is, they got polymorph.
Oh, okay. That's a different thing. I would not have
So
expected that.
so they have +5 dex. So most likely they're going first. So they just
Good.
polymorph you.
Or well, they can polymorph themselves, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so they
you
just
can.
fly up above, every one of them turns into a rhino and just falls out of the sky.
T-Rex. Blah.
Might not be able to do a T-Rex because
I
of
know.
the CR, but yeah, maybe they could do a rhino, maybe not, but black bears or something like that just come plummeting out of the sky, fucking swarm of flying black bears.
Uh,
It's raining black bears.
I'm
Uh,
trying to see what the. It's just a
that's
fourth. It's just a fourth level spell. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you for that. Now I have an encounter for next weekend.
Ah.
I hope my players piss off the
The
pixies.
new form can be any beast whose challenge rating is equal to or less than the target's or the target's level if it doesn't have a challenge rating. So
Okay,
you only
so
be able to transform into another one quarter beast, so like a cat or some shit.
well, I'm sure
But then,
give me enough time. I know I can find something reasonable sized that would be entertaining to watch falling out of the sky.
well, I can just search for that right now. Let's see. What are all the CR
Yeah.
1 4
What is
monsters?
every CR one quarter beast?
Okay, I'll start with the top side and go down.
All right.
So, top of the list is an axe beak.
That's not a bad one. Axe
That's not
beaks
a
are
bad
kind
one.
of rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Boar, cave badger, constrictor snake, cow,
Oh, yeah. There
woo,
you go. Perfect. Perfect. Cal's all I
uh,
needed to hear.
deep roth. I don't know what that is. Dimetrodon.
Oh, the Dimetrodon's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
They're like they're
that's
ground lizards.
2d6 plus 2. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Draft horse, elk. Elks will mess you up.
Yeah, I kind of like elk. That would be a fun one. So
Yeah, because
how many pixies were there? I have to ask. If they pissed them off
um,
and all of them attacked, how many were there?
I don't know. I actually didn't get that far.
Okay, well let's just make the assumption there's 20 of them.
I was gonna say
So,
4.
oh well, that's no fun. Let's make the assumption there's 20 of them, and that means you have 20 elk, all in 5 foot squares, just right next to each other, just falling out of the sky.
I like the axe beaks better, so they can glide in and like land beak first.
Yeah, that works. Or a heron, something like that. They just sort of dive and skewer people.
Oh, giant poisonous snake.
Mm.
Oh, oh no. Yeah, you want to kill the party? Giant poisonous snakes.
So that 20 attacks, yeah, sooner or later people are gonna get hit and fail the
So,
saves.
so a giant poisonous snake has 11 hit points, AC of 14. It's a medium beast because it's a giant
Yeah.
small creature. But it's +6 to hit,
Oh, that's
which is a
pretty good.
lot.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
and they do 1d4 +4 piercing damage. Then the target must make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw, which isn't that hard to make. But if you would fail, 3d6 poison damage, and half as much as a successful one. So no
And are they
matter what,
are they also poisoned?
no,
Okay. That's man, that's a
that's
good bit of damage, yeah.
yeah. Figuring was that what 3.5, 3.5. So that's 7, 10. Yeah.
So
So that's
yeah, yeah.
at a minimum 11, like average 11 damage per hit.
Well, let's think about this. If you had, 20 pixies, you could effectively have 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 snakes attack one individual, and plus 6 attacks, you can assume half of those are gonna hit.
Yeah.
So they're having to make 4 saves, and yeah, as well on top of that, they're also taking 8d4 damage.
hmm
Yeah. What level are your characters?
3.
That could definitely be enough to kill some people.
Yep.
Without having AoEs to clear that out, man, I think your players would be screwed.
The other thing too is to um, polymorph them all, the players that is, into something very weak,
Yeah,
and then
squirrels.
yeah, squirrels, and casting sleep on them,
Yeah, that would
and
work.
then the pixies fly on the little squirrel bodies
And just drop them.
straight up. Well, technically, I think you would hit the ground and then just depolymorph. So I guess they would need to basically stab the
Oh, that
squirrel and let
polymorph.
it
No,
go.
the falling damage does carry over. So if you
Does it?
yeah, if you polymorph them into a squirrel and sleep them, at that point you take them up 100 feet, drop them. They take 10d10 of damage. The squirrel's got a 1 hit point. So the squirrel body takes 1 hit point, and all the rest of it carries over.
What's a small animal that they could? Uh,
And this is what DMs do on our off time. We find horrifying ways that we could feasibly kill our players with that we're never actually going to do.
oh, I'll do it again. um. So yeah, let's filter by 1-4 again. Let's go opposite ways. So starting at 0, you got the well. I need something tiny. So a badger is also tiny. A bat would be tiny. A cat would be tiny. A cat has
Cats always
2 hit
land on
points.
their feet. Bats can fly.
Yeah, but if they're asleep,
Well, who knows if they'll be able to get them there without them
plus
waking up.
they can just take them up all the way and like stab them real quick and then drop them.
Well, if they stab them, they're coming. Well, that's fair. They'll come out of their regular form. But as
Yeah.
owls, they're just going to fly off then. So
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I guess crab. They got 2 hit points and they're tiny.
yeah,
Cranium rat.
yeah.
Fox. Frog. You can turn them all into frogs. Everybody wants to be
Oh,
frogs in my party
yeah.
for some stupid reason. I hate them.
I just I got to tell you the story later on the podcast, but yeah, we had a frog that sort of saved our bacon this past game session.
So yeah, turn them into frogs. Frogs at 1 hit points. They have no attacks. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So turn them all into frogs, drop them from the sky.
Frog attack.
I mean, we've all seen the fact that frogs have rained from the sky before. Why would this be something new? In the Feywild, that's probably a real thing. They just rain frogs all the time. People wonder what the hell happens. It's actually just pixies who got pissed off at somebody who got in their water.
So other spells that Pixie has is like sleep, polymorph, phantasmal force, fly,
Oh,
entangle.
phantasmal force.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's just a cube of like can't break out of it, right?
No, phantasmal force deal damage if I recall right. I think it's like 46 or something.
I don't see any damage on it. You
I
craft an illusion that takes root in the mind of the creature to get you within range. Target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, you create a phantasmal object, creature, or other visible phenomenon of your choice, no larger than a 10-foot cube, that's perceivable only to the target for the duration.
That's it. That's all it does.
Yeah.
Huh. There's another phantasmal something or other spell that
Oh,
deals
okay. Here it
damage.
is at the end.
Phantasmal killer, I
Infected
think is what
target,
I'm thinking of.
maybe. An infected target is so convinced of the phantasm's reality that it can even take damage from the illusion. A phantasm creature to appear as a creature that can attack the target. Similarly, the phantasm creature is to appear as fire or pull acid or lava can burn the target. On each run of your turn, the phantasm can deal 1d6 psychic damage to the target if it's in the phantasm's area or within 5 feet of the phantasm.
Okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
think phantasmal killer's the one I was initially thinking of that just deals straight up damage, but that's still pretty cool. I didn't realize pixies had all that stuff.
they also have
I don't look at fey creatures most of the time.
this entangle, this fly, dispel magic, detect thought. Funny how they have fly, and even though they have wings,
Yeah, they can
detect thoughts,
already fly.
detect good and evil, dancing lights, and confusion,
Confusion's a fun one.
and they can turn invisible
At
at will.
will. Yeah, of course. Don't mess with the pixies. Yeah, but if it was only 4 of them, I think your players would be fine. If it's 20, oh man,
Ooh,
no
a
one
cute
wants
pixie
that.
too.
Nobody wants that. That's how you beat a Tarrasque. You get 20 pixies after it.
Mm.
It's just
Oh,
another method of killing the Tarrasque. All right, so for what we did yesterday, where to begin? So we're playing the Oriental campaign, and we have our characters have been tasked with finding the scrolls from the Shadowlands. I think there's 12 of them. We know that most of the capital cities have one or more of the scrolls. So we've been tasked by the emperor to go and retrieve the scrolls, bring them back to the capital. So we get to the Tiger Lands, and we're trying to get in with the daimyo of the area. We need to go talk to him. So we get the run around for a little bit, and finally we're handed off to a shogun who is very grumpy, kind of irritable, and we don't know exactly why. The
named
shogun,
Lucian.
huh?
Named Lucian.
No, I don't remember exactly what his name was. Uh,
Wait,
he
are you running the Oriental campaign or somebody
no,
else?
I am playing in this,
Okay,
and
because I was about to say that the story sounds familiar. Did you just decide to read redo your
no,
unused
no, no.
line?
Oh no, no, no. This is something completely different. I had nothing. Yeah, this is not that. So, oh, I forgot that I wanted to mention. Have you ever actually just beaten your childhood to death? Like all the things that you loved as a kid. Have you ever had the opportunity to actually just beat them with a club? Because that's what this story is, by the way. So we
No,
meet.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we meet this show. I know that's very random, but you'll understand when I get a little further into the story.
Okay.
We meet this shogun, and he has 2 gigantic fucking bodyguards who probably have an intelligence of like 6. They are dumb as dirt. I don't remember their exact names, but it was like Boro and Roshi, something of that nature. And we're just sort of hanging out with these guys. We come to find out that the shogun was really pissed off because in the process of the scroll being stolen from the daimyo's keep, his brother was killed. So we now have to figure out who stole the scroll, who killed the brother, and how all of this shit ties together. And by examining his brother's body, we come to determine that there was oh geez, I'm drawing a blank on their name, but basically a rat person was involved in the killing. And we come to find out the only rat in the area that anyone knows about is an old guy who lives outside of the city, in the swamps. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go pay him a visit. We get out there, we start questioning him, doing insight checks, investigation, etc. And as per usual with this campaign, we fail every goddamn roll.
Okay.
Like this party is the worst investigators ever. So we can't find anything out from him. We're packing up to leave. And our warlock has a familiar that's a frog. The frog I was speaking of earlier. He sends him back into the hut as we've left. And it's just a frog. It's probably going to go unnoticed. It's a swamp. It's an old ass rat man who lives out there. And it starts hopping from room to room. And in the main room, which is the only room we'd ever gone in, there's not much going on. Then he gets into the back room and sees there's a bedroom. And there's another room. There's also another bedroom. And he also notices that there's a place where a sword is missing. Then we come to find out, oh, there's training dummies in another room. So at this point, we all start to suspect, well, shit, this guy has a bit of a ninja clan running around beneath him. So we leave the swamp and we realize we are being followed, we're being tracked. So we just set up camp for the night, sort of leave an opening for them to come at us. And then finally, we engage in combat. And it's at this point that we realize there are 4 of them out in the woods, and they are kappas, and they're all ninjas.
Okay. That's
Yeah, they've all
questionable.
no, it's 4 kappa ninjas, and for anyone who's not familiar with a kappa, it's sort of a turtle person, and
Yeah.
they were all trained by a rat.
No, no, I get the joke, but what's bugging me about this is that there's no way they can do like half the stuff a ninja would do, like a flip or anything,
Why?
because then all the water would come out of their head and they would just die.
Doesn't matter. We don't care. We're fighting the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's all
Well,
any of us cared about.
that's how you beat a kappa. Like
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be able to beat a kappa. You're supposed to bow to it, and when it bows back at you, and with respect, it bows and pours all the water outside of its head and just dies instantly.
Well, it was at this moment that we realized, oh fuck, we're the Foot Clan. We were literally working for the Shogun, who had Bebop and Rocksteady working with him. Yeah, the two giant guys. So yeah, we were Foot Clan. The look on the other guy in our group who's playing a ninja, just the look on his face was the most priceless thing I've ever seen when he realized he was Foot Clan.
If you could work for a ninja organization, would you rather work for the hand or the foot?
Oh, jeez, man. They were
Relatively almost exactly the same.
probably Foot Clan. Wait, no, no, probably the hand, because that at least means I'm in the Marvel universe. Although I know there's been some crossover, so it's technically possible I was in both anyway. But probably the hand.
The hand.
Yeah, actually, if I had to choose, I probably would have been in DC instead. Yeah, fighting Batman.
Well, I don't think he wrote for them. I think he only wrote for Daredevil and TMNT.
Oh well, fair enough.
Actually, I guess the only ninja clan that I can think of off the top of my head for DC would be Raj Al
Russ
Ghul's.
Al Ghul. Yeah, that's where I
Yeah,
would have. Yeah, I would have been under Russ.
Shadow. What were they?
I can't remember the name. I, I'm
It's
a
to the Shadow
I'm a
Council.
terrible
That's what it is.
DC fan. Although I'm going to see Suicide Squad tomorrow, so there is
You
that.
haven't seen it yet,
No, I haven't had a chance, man. I've been busy all weekend.
man.
Yep, yep. Won't be able to talk about it tonight.
It's the best movie this
I
year.
I
Period.
I heard a lot of people were complaining about it, but literally everybody I've seen mention it or everybody I've talked to has loved it. So I don't know.
I
I expect to enjoy the hell out of the film.
I was worried that it was just gonna be Guardians of the Galaxy Suicide Squad movie,
We could fucking
and
hope.
it's not, and that made me very happy.
Yeah, I've heard that
It's an
I've heard they take the very hard R rating.
they take a very hard R rating, um, but just he's got a lot of very artistic changes that he did to it that make the movie very much worthwhile.
I'm looking
Couple
forward to it.
Amanda Walters is one of my favorite characters in the DC universe.
You mean Amanda Waller?
Yeah, yeah. She's one of my favorite characters in the DC universe. I really liked her in the animated.
Oh yeah, no, she was great in the animated stuff.
Yeah. So I was very disappointed when they made her just like this skinny black lady in
Which,
the Suicide Squad.
yeah,
But this movie, she just owned the part, and
yeah, it's
it
the
was
same
a
actress.
same actress. Yeah,
Okay,
they
cool.
actually. I think the director, definitely a director, really was able to like say, no, no, it's more like this, and it was. She sold the movie for me. It was perfect, and
Awesome.
it was great. I'm sold. I'm sold on that character now for Suicide Squad 3 or whatever they come up with.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, look, hey, let's be honest. DC needed a win.
yeah.
They haven't had very many. They had Wonder Woman and they had Wonder Woman, so they needed a win.
Well, a lot of people liked Aquaman.
It was entertaining.
Unfortunately,
It wasn't good though.
my wife liked it.
I liked it. I was very entertained by it, but it was not what I would call a good movie by any means.
No,
Uh,
this one was very good. I really liked I'm just gonna say I really like the scene transitions that they had, which will
mhm,
make sense once you watch it.
all right.
Um,
But yeah, let's get back on D and
no,
D
no,
topic
we're
briefly.
stuck in DC now. Okay, you're fighting ninja kappas that should die when they do a flip.
Yeah, well, maybe they didn't do flips. Maybe they stayed upright. An actual
The
ninja
the,
wouldn't be doing flips.
the least dexterous
I mean, yeah.
ninja
So
to do.
anyway, we go through the fight. A couple of us go down. You know, most of them go down. We end up beating up the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which for me was yeah, that's a highlight. I got to beat up my childhood, you know, with a bat, and it was entertaining. It was fun. I enjoy. So the other DM, he likes doing stuff like that. He has zero issue tossing in just very obvious pop culture references into our world, and I personally am entertained by it. The play group that we're with loves every minute of that stuff. Do you ever do that? Do you actually toss in like pop culture references?
Try not to. I have a big problem personally with it's more of a hurdle that I have to overcome, that the stuff I do isn't creative
Ah,
because
that's right. Yeah.
it's been done before, like the night issue. I literally I had the idea for having this night show up, and then I saw the Green Knight, and now I'm like, well, shit, I can't even have the night at all. You know,
But you still did it, and
I still did it.
your players enjoyed it. So
I rewrote most of it
eh,
because I didn't want to steal anything from the Green Knight, and really, I still, you could just kind of go, you just took that from the Green Knight movie you saw before. And it really bothers me because I really want to feel like I'm doing something that's new and creative. And so having an obvious pop culture reference in the right game, I would. But when it comes to like trying to create original content, I steer far away from that.
that's fair. I personally I don't toss in very many pop culture references at all into my games, and it's just an old habit. Like I've just run D&D a certain way for so long. I want a very medieval feeling to my game. I don't really involve technology much into my game. So, tossing in pop culture references, I won't say I've never done it, but it's not very often.
Yeah. I will say I like pop culture references in like World of Warcraft and
Sure.
Blizzard games. They seem to fit, pretty well in there.
Yeah.
I just
I love it if it's done well, like this one was. It was an Oriental campaign. It made perfect sense for that to happen.
yep. I mean, it's definitely a cute idea. I would never have thought of using kappas for Ninja Turtles
Yeah.
because, well, the water on the head thing.
Yeah, initially we thought they were gonna be turtles. Like we had figured it out, before we actually engaged them. We just thought it was gonna be turtles, and then it turned out to be kappas, which is, close enough. We knew what it yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are there kappas statted in 5e? Let's find out. No,
There probably are in the Oriental campaign.
no, they are not.
I could look up I actually have the Oriental campaign manual around somewhere. It's on my tablet, I think, but
Not in
I'm
fourth edition.
yeah,
So,
I don't think there are actual stats for them in any of the actual, uh, official stuff.
so I'm when we were doing Shadowmoor new player committee back in I think 2019,
Yep.
2018, 2019. We had we had the big bad for the entire year to be a undead necromantic kappa.
Oh, I remember you've told me all about it.
Well, I haven't told the podcast about
Yeah. Go, you can go ahead and tell it.
it. So we were thinking about it, like, okay, so we have this kappa, we're gonna do things. What are we gonna do when people decide, they go, hey, I'm gonna metagame this. I'm gonna go bow to the kappa because that's how you kill kappas. And I don't remember who gave the suggestion. It was not me. It may have been our friend Eric. It may actually have been John. I can't remember who. No, it wasn't John. I think it was Eric. Anyways, I'm not pointing blame. I'm just trying to remember who did it.
Fault
They're
is
like,
it?
well, if they make you do that, do the battle like you're supposed to, but just have green ichor ooze out instead of water, and just do a death 10-foot radius.
Hey.
And I was like, on the new player, what?
No, I'm good with it. I like the plan. Let's do it.
You want me to do a death 10-foot radius on the new player? They're
Yep.
like,
Just
yeah, it'd be fine.
Yep, just a TPK right out of the gates.
I remember the field battle we first introduced him. I think there was like 50 players on the field
You.
because what a lot of people don't realize, especially in the Shadowmoor, and I guess even the leadership, is like we were getting 50, 60 people. It was a field battle period and stop, and we're giving no time in preparation or location for it. Um, so when I came running out, I think at least 20 people surrounded me and were all like, "We're bowing to you, Kappa. We're bowing to you." All just like, you don't even know what a Kappa is. None's ever existed in Shadowmoor, to my knowledge. How do you know to even bow to it? And I didn't do death 10-foot radius because I
Life
didn't want to
drain.
kill.
Life
I didn't
drain.
want to. No, I did. I can't remember. I just did a number damage. I did 50. I didn't do 50 death. I would have been the same problem. Um,
Yeah. So 50 necromancies. Yeah,
that's what
just
it was. It
yeah.
was 50, 50. I think it was just 50 necrotic or something like that. Um, 10-foot radius, and they all dropped,
Oh, of
but at least they
course.
weren't dead.
Yeah.
Um, because I was like, if I send 20 players, the plot
Oh,
just
oh, the hell you would have caught for that. Yeah. That would have been bad. Yep.
it would have been like, who approved this change?
Yep.
Listen, we wrote it up.
Yeah, for people who do not LARP but run D&D, that would be the equivalent of taking people who have never played Dungeons and Dragons and immediately killing all of their characters. Yeah. That would not
Yeah,
be it would not go over well. Not a good
it
way to
was.
introduce people to the game.
Yeah, or maybe this is your excuse to never metagame again.
Or that. Yeah, that's it might be a good lesson. If you were running D&D and 4 brand new players all tried to bow to a kappa, sure, yeah, all right.
And
I c
I think there's definitely always, no matter what game you start, there's always this big, huge learning curve that you have to
yeah,
go through as a player or as a DM. Like, how is this person going to operate and work? You know, I've been kind of lucky with the players that I've gotten that I've known them for a while. I get to play with them off stream, but I've had some very new people show up, so I've had to learn kind of like on the fly on the stream, like how they would react to a situation. And this weekend, um, Katrina, who's playing the Owl Amber, who got de-aged, um, also uh, has been basically the brunt of my DM force a few other times as well too. And I really don't want to ever to think that I'm like picking on her, but all the bad stuff seems to be happening to her.
right.
And she's doing everything perfectly fine. She's going out there and sticking her neck out. It's just that I guess in the Feywild, everything just wants to take a chop at it.
Yeah.
Um, she set a tree on fire with create bonfire, and I had tried to describe the tree was like dead and full of holes. So it caught blaze really quick and started burning everything else out. And the Feywild wouldn't let her go until she fixed that situation. Wouldn't let the party go really. And then there was the de-aging thing. And then we ended the campaign last night with a little child showing up again. Not to spoil you exactly what the little child is. But I had everybody roll D100s, and the lowest, and I said the lowest person gets, is the loser, and it was her again.
Oh,
So
no.
she got the nightmares and torments all night, and didn't get a long rest. But when everyone woke up in the morning, they're like, "Okay, what do you guys want to do?" She's like, "I'm going back to sleep." And they're like, "Okay, well, we can just shove her in a backpack now. She's small because she's a child now,
Yeah.
and continue on." So I don't know. I'll give her the benefits of a short rest or something like that.
Doesn't sound like you're being very hard on her, though. Yeah, it's just
I
little
know.
things
It's
that
just
keep yeah, picking away
it,
at
it
her.
can feel like that because I'm a new DM to her,
Yep.
and it weighs on my mind heavily because I would like, if I had not said lowest person loses out loud on stream, I would have not chosen her. I would have chosen somebody else.
Right. Yeah, somebody a little more
Um,
experienced. So
yeah. Um, Shelly rolled 100, straight 100.
huh, sounds like
That
a
was cool.
waste of 100.
Yeah, it was. So, um, Ember lost 3 hit points permanently, and so I gave 3 temporary hit points to Shelly, uh, just for rolling 100. You got to give people who roll 100 or 20 something, just a
Yeah,
little something.
yeah, I don't do that, but honestly, I don't have any issue at all with that. Yeah, just give them a little reward for getting lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
3
been
hit
seeing a lot.
points is yeah, 3 temp hit points is not that big of an ordeal.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot more people too complaining about the fact that skills and rolling a 20 on a skill check doesn't be an
Auto,
automatic
yeah, it's auto
success.
success.
Yeah, and most of the times it's always going to be a success.
Yep.
But
There are
you
times
can't
it's just not
expect.
though. I mean, if it's a competitive roll, if you're rolling stealth versus perception, you might not succeed. They might also nat 20.
Right. Um, but even that, like even like if you look at the scale of DCs that the the DM screen gives you, are like extremely difficult 18.
Yeah.
You know, so rolling a 20 is pretty much you're already hitting that one point that's better than anything
Yeah.
else.
A 20 is going to succeed probably 99% of the time.
Right. And it's just kind of weird that you would have a DC higher than that if it's not supposed to be something near impossible.
I
Like
mean,
I think
I've
I've
done
had
DCs, I've
23
done
before.
DCs and yeah, I've done 25 as a DC before. But it wasn't a all or nothing. It's just it was probably a history check, I think. If they got high enough, they get more information. If you get a 25, you know everything about it. You're an expert on it.
Yeah, but just like I said, I've been seeing it a lot again recently. I hope it doesn't. I hope people figure it out. The reasons why the 20 always seems to work, but sometimes you can't just convince the king to give you his kingdom.
I don't care if people complain about it because they're not in my game.
Well, I care about the general mood of things, especially when it comes to new players,
Yeah.
because everyone's like, "Oh, I crit." Well, yeah,
Did
but
you
it's not an attack.
really? Did you
I mean,
really?
I've had plenty of 5 DCs that people rolled a -1 or rolled a 1 on and still passed.
Yeah, it could happen. Actually, yeah, that did happen this past weekend. It was the exact thing I was talking about a moment ago. The stealth versus perception. Somebody, the monster rolled a 5 on stealth. The player rolled a 6 on perception. Just garbage rolls, but just high enough.
I had the opposite happen where the player rolled an 18 with their modifier, and the large elk creature rolled a 19 with its
Oh,
modifier. I was like, "Oh, this is
oh,
gonna hurt.
yeah. Gotta stick with the roll.
This is gonna hurt him." And I charged him with an elk, and it hit. It didn't crit, but it did like 28 damage,
Ooh.
and it was right after a short rest.
Yeah, at level 3, that's a lot of damage.
Yep. I felt bad, so I said, You are automatically raging for free."
Just giving away benefits now.
Well, I really kind of felt it really kind of feels shitty playing a low level barbarian and not being able to rage.
Did he not have any left, or was it just because he went
No,
unconscious?
no, you just get 2.
Oh,
So
okay, he
like,
was out. Yeah, okay.
well, no, he wasn't. I don't think he was out. It's just that you get 2 for like a full day,
Yeah,
and you go through like what 6 combats in a day.
yeah, you gotta be judicious with that shit, man.
Yeah, but then later on, like when you're like level 5, you get like 14,506 rages in a day.
It's not that many, let me tell you. Even at level 10, it wasn't that many.
So it's just like I go into a rage, and this is this encounter now. Uh,
Ah, I think we
so
covered about everything tonight, unless you got something else.
what's the next D&D book that comes out?
I don't know. Do you?
I was hoping you would know.
I do not. I never know. You're the one who actually keeps up with that more than me.
That's
Let's
true.
see. Uh, D&D
It's either
5.
September with Strixhaven.
I think I
Um,
do believe I'm pretty sure it's Strixhaven.
Strixhaven's in November. And so Fizzbang is
So no,
in
it should be Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Yes, is in September.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Um, that's the next one. Yeah, September 21st. Um, some interesting things that happened in this Thursday's D&D Beyond Dev update,
Oh,
where they announced on that stream that they will no longer be supporting UA content delivered
yeah,
by
I saw that.
D&D Beyond or D&D official. On one hand, it kind of makes sense because there's a lot of back end work that has to go into putting those things up, especially when it's like the dragons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to put all that stuff up, to have it be pulled or to have it be completely reworked from the ground up is a lot of development time.
Oh yeah.
I would think, at least maybe um I would say between 4 and 8 hours per class. You know, I've developed 100 classes on D&D Beyond, and they use the same system for inputting stuff on their side. They just also have to like add in some other coding stuff on the back end as well, for more unique factors.
Mhm.
So I can see that they don't want to waste a developer's time, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket when eventually,
I always thought it was really weird that they allowed UA stuff on there anyway.
well, it's eventually they're going to have to put it up anyways. So I
Maybe.
think they were trying to be ahead of the curve. So like when that stuff came out, it was already there. You know?
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, it seems like yeah, that's just it's a lot of work. That may or may not come to fruition.
Yeah,
Most of the stuff on UA becomes official, but not all of it.
yeah. So when it came to light that the Alfolk are being moved from Witchlight to Strixhaven, you know,
Yeah,
they all
that
that
was
work that they put into putting Alfolk up there is now kind of like moot
yeah.
because it's not coming out for another 2 months. And then on top of that, we don't even know if the Alfolk are going to be any different or new or anything like that.
Mhm. Yep.
So
And we've already seen the dragons, the Dragonborn, the other dragon stuff, which I'm assuming will be released at Fizzban's Treasury of Dragons. But who knows if it's going to be what we saw in UA?
yeah,
Like parts of that could easily change.
which makes me wonder how long their development cycle is on the WotC side because like,
Years.
well, I know they have a development cycle of years, but how long does it take them to create something to release for UA? How much testing of it do they do beforehand? How much testing of it do they do once it's released to the public? How do I give them feedback on UA stuff? I don't even know where to give feedback.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
Um, like there's no reason you should have hobgoblins in the Feywild. like that's
Yeah,
just weird.
it was a little weird. And then there was that one broke ass archetype that we joked about for a while. Me, you, and Panda.
Yeah. So it's very. I understand why they did it, but on the other hand, it's like, well, it kind of sucks too. You're kind of losing content. Mm.
It is well, yeah, but if somebody really, really wants to use the UA stuff, they can input it themselves.
They can input it themselves, and that was their exact reasoning too on
Yep.
on the dev stream. You can always
Yep.
just do it in homebrew, which
Yep.
I hate that. Like, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. You can do it yourself. Like, I'm paying you for the system.
Yeah, but they are putting everything that's official in. That seems good enough for me. When we were doing the Star
Yeah,
Wars game, I didn't expect them to, you know, have Star Wars up there. I was doing it myself.
yeah, maybe. But as long as they start fixing some of the things that have been like the encounter builder has been in beta now for like 4 years.
Yeah, hopefully if
Like,
they're taking time away from putting UA stuff, they actually put it somewhere it should be.
but I don't think that like I said, 8 hours per class, maybe a week's worth of effort is going to really change their scheduling on their sides. And they can actually move stuff out of being in beta.
Why not? It just lets them they can let go of a couple of developers. Yep, we don't have work for you
Yeah,
anymore.
but I'd put that for a junior developer. Like, hey, here, do this, dummy. You a dummy. Do this. But that's
You're
all we
on.
had.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting. I did read about it the other day. Oddly, surprisingly enough, since I don't actually do anything on D&D Beyond, but it did come across my feed.
You would think you would do stuff because that's part of.
Well, no, I don't do anything on D&D Beyond because I don't play D&D online.
You should play D&D online. It's the best.
Yeah, we're done.
All right, man. I'll catch you later.
Bye, Craig. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. Check us out on Facebook at
There's no at Facebook. It's just facebook.com/Grumpy Dungeon Masters.
and on Twitter
That'd be at Grumpy_DMs,
and on Instagram.
at Grumpy Dungeon Masters.
And also be sure to follow us on Twitch.
Twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters, where we play Rime of the Frostmaiden every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Fuck yeah.